It was perfect fall day, overlooking the Adirondack Mountains. It was just a perfect day. That's what I had to do, and it was forced on me
Yeah.
because of this traumatic experience.
Welcome, everybody, to the podcast Best Life Ever. And today I have a really good friend that I'm super excited. I've been excited all day just to talk to her. And her name is Gail. And we met at a networking. I ended up becoming her coach and also Carolyn, right? We all three got together and we talked about sales and things like that. And then I went on and did some individual coaching with Gail. And she's just an amazing person to me. I think she's just so committed to whatever she wants to do and learn. It inspires me. And I know that she has been making some major progress in her career and all the other things that she's been doing. She's tough and determined. She's highly motivated and she impresses the heck out of me. So I know that you'll find that same thing. You might have seen her on Instagram. We both are part of a online training, which she introduced me to called Upskill Training. And we post training. She could tell you a little bit more about that at the end, but it's a phenomenal online training for women or anybody actually. But the cost is reasonable and the training is phenomenal. So hopefully she'll talk more about that and we can maybe I will put the link in the description and y'all can check it out. So Gail, I did a lot of talking there. Good morning. And let me just inspire you to tell us a little bit about yourself today.
Thank you for having me, Connie. I'm so excited to be here. I just love you so much.
I love you too.
Well, thank you again. I am a multifaceted person, as you know. I'm like you, very motivated, and I have a lot of ambition. So I'm not a linear kind of person. I own an insurance agency. I own the coaching company, Upskill Developmental, that you mentioned, and I just started a crystal healing company because I've been obsessed with crystals for most of my life. And over the course of my transformation years, I got really obsessed with crystals, and now I'm actually doing something with them. So
Yeah.
I'm just, always learning like you, always trying something new like you. And I think that's why we connected so well when we
Yeah.
met because we're both kind of similar people where it doesn't matter how old we are, we're just going to keep going.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I think you and I are the same age if you're dyslexic. I think I think we are, right?
Not quite, but close.
Okay, that's good. Maybe well, I'll catch up with you, or you'll catch up with me later. So,
You're
yeah,
close.
yeah. So tell us where you were born and where you live now, and whatever you feel comfortable with. Give us a little background on who you are, where you came from.
I grew up on a farm, so we had
Oh,
cows and grain. I mean, it was a grain farm. It was a working farm, and then we had cows. That was also like a secondary source of income for my dad. And then, we grew up, and each of us kids got to have an animal. So I picked chickens. So I can't wait till I can live somewhere and get more chickens, and maybe a cow because I love cows, and
oh,
rescue some horses. And I have Rottweilers now, but that's pretty much it. No
wow. Well,
chickens in the suburbs.
Tennessee is calling your name. You know how much property we got around here, and you
Yeah.
can have chickens in your backyard here. So.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
that's
know about a cow, but the chickens you can have,
well, we'll have to go somewhere where the cow is allowed.
Well, there's plenty of places for that. So when you're ready, come down, visit me. I'll take you around.
I will. I honestly, it's on my bucket list to move to probably Kentucky or Tennessee and then have a cabin in Vermont.
Oh my gosh, that would be like, okay, that sounds fun. Yeah,
Yeah. Get the hell out of the Midwest, or
yeah,
at least
no,
this part of it.
yeah. I did already. I escaped. There was an article in this CNN saying that Tennessee was the worst state to live in. And I put a little note on Facebook and I said, yes, it's true. Do not come here. I closed the border the day I moved in anyway. So
I
it's
love
a,
that. Yeah, keep all the tourists and all the,
yeah, keep them out. It's a fabulous place to live. So,
that's what I've heard. I've had friends move there.
Yeah.
So I grew up on a farm and I love it and I want to go back at some point.
Mhm.
And then I moved to the city in my early 20s and just stayed there for a long time and just kind of floundered around and didn't really have a purpose and then fell into insurance and floundered there for a while until I met wonderful people like you who actually helped me become successful. You were an
Oh,
integral part in that.
well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. You were a lot of fun to work with. Tell you that. I actually learned some techniques from you. So I'm coaching. Yeah. So, and how about education? Did you go to college? Did you? Oh, no. Okay. It's a good example of a person that is persevering without having to go pay $100,000
You
for
know,
school, right?
there's a funny story about that. I failed sixth grade math and I was just not doing great in school. And once I failed sixth grade math, I just thought, well, that must mean I'm stupid. And when you're thinking something, you see the evidence everywhere.
Uh-huh.
So I kept seeing more evidence that I was stupid and that I wasn't smart enough to do XYZ. And then my environment started to reflect that. So I just went my entire life never even trying to go to college, never trying to do much with my life because I just thought I wasn't smart enough. And then when I became an insurance agent, you have to take your board. So you have to take the class and then go take your boards
Yeah.
and all that. And as I was studying, I called my best friend who's a doctor and I was like, I'm dumb. I can't do this. Like, I think I know the answer. And then I take the practice test and I get it wrong. And she was like, girl, they're trying to trick you. Those are trick tests. You just don't know how to take a test. And I was like, what? And she was
Yeah.
like, you don't know how to take a test. So throughout that process, I realized that I actually wasn't stupid. I had just been being tricked in all my tests and didn't know how to take a test. Therefore, I kept failing. And
Um,
so after I went and passed my boards on my first try, which not everybody does,
right.
I was like the little tiny crack of a door open and was like, maybe you're not stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do stuff. And then the first few years of my career were pretty hard on me because I didn't know sales, I didn't have confidence, and I just really didn't know what I was doing. And it was a whole new environment. I'm not a very corporate kind of girl. And so being in corporate environments was difficult, but I did okay until I met you and you helped me do cold calling
Yeah.
and you gave me confidence because once I figured out cold calling, I all of a sudden my confidence like shot through the roof and it was like literally before and after Connie. It was crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, you did really good at it. And having that skill of cold calling could take you anywhere. Seriously. So many people are afraid of it, but you weren't. You just got on the call and you practiced and yeah, it was great. It was fun. And you make me feel good. So, I
Oh, I was
love
terrified.
were you?
Oh God, yeah.
Well, I was holding your hand. So
Yeah, you
I
were.
really was. Yeah, and I know, I love coaching and I love people's results but it's a hard road to hoe sometimes trying to get people to, come on board and they have to be willing. That's the whole thing. People have to be willing. They have to say, you know what, I can do something different and I'm going to try a coach, and you did that and I appreciate you for that. But then we became friends out of that. We became really good friends and then you invited me to upskill, which I was so honored to do that. And I owe you a class, which I've written, but I have got to record it. It's by the way it's called. I got fired, laid off, or what was it? Fired, laid off, or yeah, I forgot. Quit. So it's about losing your job and how that affects you. And when you talk about how you feel about you didn't feel like you're smart enough. Isn't it strange or isn't it interesting how the way we're raised, really, we take that with us. And until we find somebody else that did something different, you don't realize that it's actually available to you. And I know I can relate to what you're saying because I grew up in a Italian family with, three brothers and girls were not worth as much as the boys. And so you go out into life thinking that and you act that way and you kind of attract that kind of stuff until one day you meet a woman or someone that you go, wow, if they could do that, I could do that. And I think that's sometimes what a coach, a really good coach, does for people. It pulls that stuff out of people because they're sitting on it, you know. And I think that your story is really good. I'm really proud of you. You get me very excited every time I see what you're doing and the success you're having. So let me ask you, as far as you're single, correct?
I
And
am.
okay, and so you want to talk a little bit about that, or yeah, I wanted just to talk a little bit about where you're at in life right now.
What do you want to know specifically?
Well, let's say you you have been single most of your life, correct?
Yeah, I've never been married.
Okay, and you have been very determined to go forward and be successful as a single woman. And
Mhm.
I seen you do pull together that bites what's it, bites, birdies and bourbon, that networking that we did. I mean, you got to mark that down, check that off as one of your greatest accomplishments because I got so much business out of that. And I've actually talked to people here in Tennessee about doing it. Maybe you need to come here to do it for us. We could do whiskey though here because there's lots of whiskey places here everywhere. There's a lot of little breweries all over the place. Um, and I got to talk to you then a little bit more about your life and your singleness and all the things that you have been able to accomplish through that. Do you want to talk about that at all? About how how you manage? A lot of women are single and they don't know what to do with themselves.
Well, I always just, with the assumption that I was stupid, I just thought there was going to be a man who was going to marry me and I was going to take really good care of him and our kids and the house and just, if I had to get a job, I'd get a job. Like I'm a very hard worker, so whatever needed to happen, I'm a support system. And that is how I've approached all of my relationships, unsuccessfully. But I feel like people like us who have really a big purpose in life have to kind of front load their karma and they can't really get settled into a good relationship because then you don't want to go out and conquer the world. You're happy taking care of your husband and your kids, which is all I wanted. And that just kept eluding me. And so I kept floundering around the world trying to figure out where my place was because I thought it was with a man. And that just never happened for me. So part of it was, how I was approaching life and the lack of confidence and stuff like that. But it was also because I had a bigger purpose and I needed to be single to do all the work on myself and to really come through all of it in a specific way so that I could show up for everybody else. Then I can have the man. And, I'm too old to have kids now, but I mean, I've made my peace with that. It's fine. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and that, it doesn't always work out the way you want either. Kids can be pretty challenging, but yeah, I mean, it's nice to have it. Nice to have them because you hope that they will take care of you in the end, but it doesn't always work out that way. A lot of parents today are suffering through, a lot of struggles with their kids today. It's kind of a strange thing that's happening. Like thousands and thousands of people are struggling with their kids. So, I understand you were free to just keep moving on without them. And also, I met a gal recently who was knew she wasn't going to end up getting married, and so I don't know how old she was when she did this, but one day she got a big job. She's a filmmaker, and she made a big accomplishment and had some money, so she decided to go adopt a child, and she went to Russia and she adopted a little boy, and he has been with her ever since. And I think he's 19 now, and she's been a single mom, sometimes struggling all the way through it, but that's what she decided to do. And she was older when she did it too. So, but yeah, but it is challenging to do that, and we all have something to contribute to the world in the way that we're directed. I don't think that we always have a choice of what things that happen to us. I used to think that. I used to think, oh, if you try hard enough or pray hard enough or whatever, you can turn things around and you won't have this. But really, if you go all the way back to when you were born, you are handed a script, not intentionally, but you have one. And the goal is to work that through to a positive, I think, to be living a positive life. For me, it's for living for God. I'm a faithful person, so that's where I ended up, and I'm really happy with that. When other people, it's it's not that, but it's something else. And I think that for you and for me, there's things that we just don't have, we didn't have control over. And so we decided to make the best out of it, right? Which is why, like you said, we love each other because we both are on the same mind, um, frame of mind where we're not going to stop. I call us unstoppable, you know. And even though we don't have all the things we want, because I certainly don't, I've been married and divorced, and I'm single too. And yeah, it's hard sometimes, but because we have people like friendships like we have, it helps a lot to get through life. So tell me about one of your greatest accomplishments.
Well, there's so many, and they were all within the last 5 years.
Oh,
Um, Gosh, I don't know. Starting my own company, working my way up in the insurance industry to become an executive and then an owner, like that was probably the greatest accomplishment only because of how far I came from. Because like I was saying when I first started, I was still kind of in that mindset that it wasn't really worth a lot. I didn't have a lot of self-worth or confidence, and you know, I had been working my way through that, but it was it was a little bit more, gosh, I don't even know how to say it, but it was really difficult to get from where I was to where I am. Any kind of transformation comes from really difficult work, and mine came through a tragedy that I went through. I was just kind of subsisting in life. Like I said, I was with someone at the time, we were engaged, and I just thought, well, I'll just work and whatever I make is gravy. He's got his own business, he does well, he'll just take care of me. But then we went through this horrific tragedy. His We had this stunning wedding on Lake Champlain in Vermont,
wow.
and it was perfect fall day overlooking the Adirondack Mountains. It was just a perfect day. But in the middle of the ceremony, his sister was really emotional and just really having a hard time collecting herself because she had stood up to do a poem that I had asked her to read. And she she finally got herself together a little bit and reached over and grabbed her brother's arm and said, "You knew I would." And we all laughed like she was going to get emotional. And he was like, "Yeah, of course you were." Like brother, sister bantering. And as she was hanging onto her arm, she collapsed, like passed away. And that was the end of my wedding ceremony. There was no wedding. Yeah, just
Oh my gosh.
really difficult day that turned into my fiance kind of going off the deep end. He wasn't really good with emotions. He's a very strong masculine man, and that's
Mhm.
one of the traits of a lot of them. And, he had a hard time with the trauma of it, and he had a hard time watching his parents go through it. I think that was probably more than anything what he was struggling with.
Yeah.
He had survivor's guilt, and I was just kind of pushed aside with, it wasn't my sister, it wasn't my family. He was so angry and so upset that it was just kind of like, I didn't feel like there was really any place for me to have any kind of grief or any kind of bad days. So I was just constantly putting a smile on my face, trying to help him, trying to help his family, while I was in the beginning of my insurance career struggling. And so this really good thing came out of this horrible day was that I was forced out of my comfort zone, hiding behind him and everybody else. And I was forced to do things like call Connie Jean Catalano and ask her to teach me cold calling so that I could actually be successful and make money, so that I could either pivot into a better career and make money and fix my relationship, or pivot out of that relationship. So That's what I had to do, and it was forced on me because
Yes.
of this traumatic experience. I otherwise I would have just probably I probably would have done well in my career eventually, but I would have just very gradually gotten there when I got there and just continued to be a really good and supportive partner and you know, wasn't what he
And,
wanted and wasn't what was best for me and all the people that we get to help, right?
right. Yeah. When I met you, I knew you were struggling with something. I could feel the heaviness, but I never knew, and you didn't share because I think it was probably too painful for you to share. So we worked around that all the time. It was like an elephant in the room. And I didn't know until way later some of this. So it's just to me thinking about the what you carried even when I was with you, I could feel it. And you did, you carried it and you kept finding paths to get into the light. It was like there was this bag of darkness and you kept flinging it off. And then, something else would happen and you have to get through it and you continue to do it. And I think, this podcast is about people who, like yourself, that have been through a tragedy and didn't succumb to self-medication or being a victim for the rest of your life. I think that when something like that happens, we do carry it. It's like a scar. I had cesarean when I had my kids, so I have that scar. I carry it with all the time. It never goes away. I don't. You can get plastic surgery probably and cover it up, but the bottom line is some of these things that happen to us are like that. But you know what? I don't even see the scar anymore. I just know I have it because I had cesarean, but I don't even see the scar anymore. And I think that that's what happened to you. You actually, and I think you're still pushing through it, pushing through the fact that, hey, I got a scar, but it's, it's under my clothes. I don't ever have to look at it. I don't even realize it's there anymore because it doesn't give me any pain, you know, but it's always there.
Hmm.
And it's something that made us who we are. That's what made you who you are right now. That this tremendous strength that you have just amazes me, and that you just continue going on. In my heart, I know that we don't. That men and women were meant to be together, and if that is a possibility for either one of us, that would be wonderful. But you'd have to find like the right partner, somebody that actually can let you be an Amelia Earhart, right? Because that's who you are. And so if you don't have somebody like that, a man in your life that will do that for you or with you, I don't think that, I think anybody else would just be taken care of it, like a child, you know. And I've met men that, really kind of wanted a domestic partner. And I'm very domestic, but that's not who I am anymore, you know. So I think that I wish for you that you find somebody that lets you be the Amelia Earhart that you are and that you feel the love, But I know it's not the end of the world without it, but still, I wish that for you.
Well, as I think you know, I moved out. I bought a house. I moved
Yes.
out away from him a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
and almost a year ago we got back together.
Oh, okay. Really?
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. So that is awesome. And
Yeah,
you
he's done a lot of work on himself. Obviously, I continue to work on myself. I can show up as a better partner for him, and he's showing up as a better partner for me. He hears me when I tell him what I need, and sometimes you have to repeat yourself, but
yeah,
most of the time he's working to show up for me, and he supports everything that I'm doing. He understands that, sometimes I have to talk about stuff. And I always, just like when I was leaving him, people would be like, oh, what an asshole or whatever. And I was like, no, nope, he gets the compassion. Like, yeah, he wasn't fun to be around. He was very difficult and he made my life very hard. But
yeah.
also, did you have your sister die in front of you during your wedding? So maybe let's not judge. Let's let him have the compassion that he deserves for that horrible thing that he went through.
Yeah.
And that's that's what we did. So we gave him as much compassion as he needed and let him be a better person. And he is.
I'm clapping. I am so happy because I think the truth is you loved each other and this horrible thing tried to destroy that. And that is unbelievable. I'm so, so happy to hear that. I am. And
Thank
now I
you.
have something to pray for every morning.
Yeah, keep praying for us. We have bumps in the road because, I know it's surprising, but I'm not perfect. And
No, well, I thought you were, you know.
he has moments where he backpedals or backslides and we have to reset. But, that's just it's life, it's relationships and we love each other very deeply and I don't want to be without him. I just feel better when he's around.
Mhm.
That's actually how we ended up getting back together because I was just like, I don't I don't see it. I don't want to. I don't want to go back. And then
Yeah.
one day he came over and he was just kind of helping me like do the lawn and I was like, that's weird. Like he just showed up and was like started helping me do stuff and I was like, okay. Like we were friendly.
Mhm.
And so then I had such a hard week. It was just one of those weeks when like it wasn't necessarily the wedding, but it was the grief or the transformation I was going through because when we're evolving out of an old mindset or evolving out of something that a behavior or a habit, it's a difficult time because your old self is uncomfortable. And that's not where we like to live. We like to be comfortable as possible. And so I was evolving out of something at the time, I don't remember what it was. And he was just there and we weren't even really talking. And I was like, all of a sudden, I realized I felt better. And I
Mm,
was like, oh, I feel better literally because he's in the same space as me.
I
We
get
weren't
that.
together, we weren't touching, we weren't even really talking.
Mm.
And I was like, oh. And then later that day, he said, I miss you. And so we started talking about it and seeing what it would look like to be together again. So, yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Wow. Oh, well, I will pray for you. I know that, the trauma is kind of like losing a child, like you two are together and there's so much blame in our heads
Hmm.
or something like that. I've been through tragedies myself, and you blame yourself. You carry around this. You got to constantly move it into the compartment it deserves to be in. Our life can live in compartments, and that doesn't mean that you ignore or deny the things that happen, but it's in the compartment, and you don't go back to it unless you're discussing it for a reason. And hopefully he'll be able to put that in a compartment so that he doesn't have to say, I'm giving up, this tragedy, because you don't ever want to like say it didn't happen. But I know what good came out of it. So that's how I'm going to pray for that he gets to that point, because that I know for both of you, you had a great loss in this whole thing, you know, a great loss. And I'm like going to have a party after I get off this podcast. I'm delighted. I'm delighted. So,
You know, I I wrestle with what I lost
yeah,
because I didn't lose my life. But and I got so much out of that because
yes,
of what had to happen for me. I got so much out of it. But then sometimes the girl in me who literally, Connie, the only thing I ever wanted was to get married, have a
mm,
husband, have kids was secondary to that. I wanted a man in my life. I wanted a purpose to take care of this man. I wanted to be a wife. And, I'm still not. And whether I marry him or somebody else, the wedding is tainted. It just is. It's never not going to be a sad day. So I never get to have a wedding, which is,
yeah, yeah.
I
You
guess,
might, yeah, I get that. There would be a fear involved, right? But at the same time, maybe we can work on that because it's, I have to tell you, I lived through a school fire where 99 kids died in one day. And it isn't, and then you're afraid to go to school because you don't know if you're going to die. When you're 8, 9 years old, and I was 9 years old, lost my two best friends and everything. You just have to somehow know that that's one thing. That was a time in your history, a time you got to put it into the time slot it was. It doesn't affect everything else. It doesn't affect every possible wedding that you could have. Maybe you'll have a smaller wedding. Maybe you'll have a quaint wedding, you know, but the bottom line is it doesn't have to take away from that. I would say that would be the devil's dream, is to destroy your idea of ever having some sort of a celebration for your marriage, you know?
Agreed.
Yeah. So when the time comes, that he says, yes, I want you to be my wife. I've always wanted you to be my wife. Then you can sit down and talk to somebody and figure out how that's going to look and how you're going to celebrate it, because there will be a good celebration in that, because all the stuff that got in the way is gone. It got put into a compartment and doesn't ever have to come out, you know. It was an old horror movie, actually, you know. Yeah. So a lot of times I ask people three things, and you kind of answered them, but except for the last one maybe. But I ask them, what makes you cry, what makes you laugh, and what makes you dream. And so, what are you dreaming of now?
World domination.
Okay, can I be your vice president?
Absolutely. My dream is to focus on really helping people. I get to do that every day in all of my businesses, but I really want to have a little bit more of a streamlined approach to it where, because right now it's just kind of like, I don't have a lot of stuff in place that's making it successful to the degree that I envision it. I mean, you know how good Upskill has been created. It's a multi-million-dollar business. It just doesn't have the students yet, but it's situated and set up thanks to Becca and I and all of our hard work, and then the wonderful people like you that have contributed to it, setting it up to the point where now we're ready for the students to come because we just have so much in there. There's just so much.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter what your job is or what your goals are, we have something for you in there.
yeah,
And the coaching, like you and I coaching, like it's just, we have something that a lot of coaches don't have. Like you have the skill and the training and you're so good at everything you do. And I have my own transformation that I went through that was so extreme, like 180, like completely opposite human being. Like people
mm,
that know me now are like, wow, like you are not the same person. I've always been like kind and fun and all that, but I'm I know I now have a purpose,
yeah,
and that's helping people make money.
yeah.
My focus is money mindset, and I created 6 avatars that are the subconscious upper limit blocks that people have
Mhm.
that are generally one of those or a combination of those that you're stuck in. Like one of them I created based on Mike. There's an avoidant one. It's Mike.
My,
And one actually two of them, the self-sabotage, that was me, and the self-worth one, that was me too.
wow,
Those are probably my top two. I was always sabotaging myself because I didn't have any self-worth and I didn't
yeah,
believe anything was really possible for myself.
right,
And now that I've proven myself wrong, I can help everybody else find that hope and that inspiration that, whether you're 21 and just getting started or 71 and want to take a last shot at, your last 20 or 30 years of your life and doing something impactful, I got you,
mhm,
you know?
yeah. So for upskill, um, I know that, I try social media with, my marketing, um, and I do everything, which is difficult. And so sometimes I run into a wall and then I feel like I'm drowning and I waterboard myself. That's what I always say. I'm waterboarding myself because I've done so much and I'm waiting for the results. And I think with upskill, somehow we need to get it out to smaller companies that want to train people, but they don't know how, and they don't have the wherewithal to do that. And maybe cold calling is the route to do that. I don't know. But somehow I think that's who's going to benefit, not just the individuals, because I work with a lot of individuals, but where I really shine the most is when I get a company. Like I worked with the company you sent me. And I've worked with a couple other companies. I work with an auto parts distributor. I really feel like that's where we can get the most impact. So maybe that's the route that that we can take a look at. So if there's any small companies watching this video, this podcast, and you want to train your people, but you don't want to pay a fortune, and you feel like you don't have all the time or maybe even the skills to do it, look at upskill.
You
And
know, it's
and
really
it,
funny, Connie. Becca and
mm,
I were just talking about this, and I have my elevator pitch course, and she has her LinkedIn social media course, and I have a couple of networking courses, and I we just created a format for companies to do that.
oh,
Pick and
that's
choose.
awesome. Okay, so we're on the same page. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, and honestly, most of our contributors, like you, for example, any of your courses could be done live. So, we when we're having those conversations, we talk to them about, is there other things that you want your team to learn, and if we have a customer or a contributor that does that, like for example, if we want someone to learn public speaking or cold calling or something, then obviously we would call you, or if there's like cyber, IT, AI, stuff like that, we have coaches for that. So it's just,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I think it's so good for small companies, and maybe it's possible the Small Business Association might be able to help with, I go to a SCORE event. In fact, I think next week I have one on a Wednesday night. It's all small business people, and those are the kind of people that you want to really get at. Um, but I need a flyer or something because I do a lot of in-person stuff. I think I can make a flyer on Canva, but you'll have to check it out and make sure it's okay. Or do you have anything?
I have
Uh,
something. We just sent out an email blast for that, so I can just send that to you.
okay. All right. Well, we'll do that. We'll work on that. I wanted to make sure that we talked about some of the successes that you're doing because it's amazing of where I met you and where you are now. And I know that you can inspire so many women that might get stopped by a tragedy, not to be stopped, to be unstoppable, to get through the morning and the sadness. You got to do all that. You can't just pretend like it didn't happen. You have to go through that mourning process. It's necessary to be healthy. And you did. And you got out to the other side. And that's what I really want to press upon to people here, that yes, you're going to go through troubles in life, but don't stay there. It's not who you are. Don't make that your identity. Don't become a victim. Keep going because there's something on the other side for other people to learn. And that's what I found the most, is that our tragedies really, we learn them. I feel like God gave us this lesson to teach other people because he knows that we have the capacity to do that. Not that it's fun to be in, but the end result, when we help somebody, it's just wonderful. It feels so good. And you go, wow, I have a purpose and I'm important and I'm not dumb, because I can relate to that feeling most of my life until I got a college degree and realized I wasn't. I had a 4.0 average at 50 years old. It took me that long to realize I wasn't dumb. So,
Same.
but hey, I did it, and it was one of the best things in my life, just like for you right now, what you're doing. So,
I
but
started out my career barely making enough money. Like sometimes I wouldn't make any money in a month, and sometimes I might make 500 bucks or 1,000, to now being able to, like, I own a home, I drive a Porsche, like I
yeah,
own businesses. Like
yeah,
it's still terrifying, but my money mindset was so altered by all of the hard work I did and the confidence that I got from cold calling and from growing in my career, and then having the guts and the chutzpah to start my own company, and then
uh-huh.
to start another one, and then to start a third. Like that takes guts,
It
and it's
does.
not easy. It's
No.
not easy. There was times in my transformation before I started any of my businesses when I was going through the really dark times. I had many dark nights of the soul, and I was suicidal for a few days. There was many times that I questioned my point of being on earth, but this was, I don't think I should be here anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
I came through that. I didn't give up, like you said. I didn't give up, and now I can help everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. The best thing to do is take 24 hours at a time. And when you feel bad one day or you feel like you shouldn't be here, the next day you're going to be better. So just get through that 24 hours. That's what I learned, because it gets better. But okay. So I think that I'm thinking, I have not been really talking to you and Rebecca much at all because I moved and I was trying to get myself settled here. But I really think maybe if we got together for 30 minutes and just did some strategy or some think tanking together, I think that would help, and it would also motivate me to get that other class recorded. So that's all I
Okay.
need to do. But
I'll
we'll
send
do
you
that.
her calendar invite and you can just pick a time.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about how you'd like to help somebody? Any advice, any wisdom that you have that you'd like to offer at the end of this podcast too?
So many things that I can say, but I would just like to leave everybody with some hope that no matter where you're at, if you're on a high or a low, if you're lost or trying to figure out what it is that you want to do today or with your life, that there is a purpose for your life and do not give up. And there are people that can help you if you look. And I found when I stopped assuming that things were as they were, that that was just the way that I was born this way, that's all there is. That's not true. And I
Right.
stopped lying to myself and telling myself these negative stories. And that's when possibility came in.
Yeah. Good. Good advice. I like it. Well, thank you for coming on board here. And I know that it's going to help a lot of people to hear your story. And I'm so happy that you got through that. I'm very happy that you're back together also. And I really am going to pray that that works out. And when it comes time to you thinking about getting married, tell him, call Connie Jean Catalano, and I'll help you get through that hump. I'll get you over the hump for sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Gail. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, Connie. This was lovely.
Thank you. Love you.